He completely went over that question, Shonda.
Nah,
um,
when would I wouldn't have
This
had a
is not
chance?
an
Like,
ad.
what I was going to say is that there's a debate, right? Okay, so I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
oh, I can answer that one officially.
Go. Which one? Go, Ryan.
Well, Shonda's from there, right? So I want to see what she say.
Are you
Caribbean.
Caribbean or Caribbean, Shonda?
Caribbean.
You know why it's you know why it's Caribbean though? Because it was named after the Carib Indians. Caribbean.
Child, that's Caribbean. I'm Caribbean.
Caribbean.
I used to do the same thing. Caribbean.
No.
Is it raining?
Okay.
Carib of the Carib people.
Yes.
And-
Carib people.
And then Cindy, you're eating caramel or is it caramel? Which one? How do you guys pronounce it?
That one's a tough one.
Caramel.
Thank you.
Depend on where you're from. It's regional.
I say caramel.
People
You
say
say
caramel.
too?
Not say caramel. And
I'm
someone
gonna
asked
say,
me
Ryan.
yesterday, is it jewelry or jewelry?
What?
Ooh. Which
That's
jewelry?
not. That doesn't belong in the equation, Shonda. But thank you. Thank you for
That
playing.
one's just wrong. Yeah. What did you say? Jewelry.
They
Okay.
say jewelry or jewelry,
Same
Okay, what
thing, you just emphasizing one or the other.
right?
It's an emphasis on the syllable.
Emphasis on this.
And then what about tomato?
No, come on. We're getting crazy now.
No, for real
Depending
now.
on where your passport is
Right.
stamped, people say tomato. And I said the passport is stamped, but where your passport is stamped in this country,
Mhm.
American say tomato.
Absolutely.
Where
American.
are these people that say
Caramel.
tomato? Where are these people that say tomato?
Britain,
But then that's not even that's
because it
every
ain't
other-
Jamaica.
every word is said different
No,
over there.
no,
Now. We can't
Caramel.
even do that.
Jamaican say
Yeah.
caramel.
Caramel.
Nicole Moody in the chat.
you see it? You see it?
Producer Nicole
Yes.
Moody. She's our moderator in our chat, welcoming our Talk Miami family every week. And Christina Sanchez says it's caramel. Caramel.
Absolutely.
I have a trigger story about this. When I was in middle school, I was in the 6th grade and we were doing the spelling bee. And I aced my entire class, killed everybody. Whew, in my smoke. I'm brilliant. So they moved me up to the global level, which was like to compete against other classes in the 6th grade. And my word was caramel. And my nerves got to me. And I spelled it CARMEL.
Listen, Cindy,
Oh,
I
it's
have
got
a
out.
story. I was in a spelling bee, and I don't remember any words. I remember that word I messed up on. It was me and one more person in the finals, and I think it was smacked or something. My nerves got the best of me, and I missed the C. Baby, I went home and cried under my bed.
Traumatized.
Life was over because I had
It's still with you.
else. I was hurt.
It's still with me. I'm like, how could I make a mistake like this in the library in front of all those people?
Cindy, I think what do I do? I was thinking, I think I say caramel if I'm in a I think I say caramel if I'm taking my time, and caramel if I'm in a hurry. I don't even know actually. Do I do both?
You'd be like, yo, girl, I want to pour some caramel.
No, caramel is
Honey, that beat still be going.
Or some
Yeah,
caramel.
it does.
I saw Ryan.
It
He's
does.
trying to do a little jig.
Trying to figure out where it's from. I want that track.
Hey, they come
I
out there.
want to pour some caramel.
Yeah. I want to vibe to that with some caramel.
Exactly. Ooh, get it, sis. Hi, everybody. It is Monday, the 3rd Monday of May. We are back. We are back for another great episode of Talk Miami. I am your girl, TK Owens, and I have the pleasure of being your host tonight. But let's go around the room because we are just so happy that the man is in the building. Mr. Ryan David, introduce yourself.
Ryan David, psychology professor, leadership and lifestyle coach. Happy to be here. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Lynette, Katrina,
Yeah.
Christina, Nicole Moody's there. Casey, I see you. George in the building. Follow me on Instagram, the Ryan David. All my social media and my website is the Ryan David. Thank you again for having me, y'all. Glad to be here.
That's right.
And to my that'd be my left. To my
Welcome to this
left.
game.
To my left is
Wait,
There it is.
right, exactly.
after a year, I still can't get this right. Good evening, everyone. I am the Dr. Shonda Roberts. Happy Monday. I have been in the streets all day with Mr. Roberts, so I'm a little tired today, but I am glad to be back with Talk Miami. We have so much to talk about. So I'm going to pass it up. I could do this one. Pass it up to Miss Cindy Winters.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl Cindy Winter, singer songwriter, Broadway actress, and one half of the hit group Butterfly Black. I'm also your arts and culture coordinator and news aficionados.
Okay.
And I'm excited to be here for another Monday at Talk Miami, celebrating season 2. And let's get to it. I'm going to pass it back over to you, TK.
Cindy got like 6 titles. You're Jamaican, huh?
Multi hyphenate and Caribbean.
Yes, Caribbean.
Caribbean.
We're gonna argue. It's a debate, okay? It's a debate. Shonda, how you doing? You squinting? You can't see, baby. Where you glad?
Stay on my face.
Well, why you squinting?
I'm not squinting. You know,
I
I
don't
just
think
have little
squinting.
eyes. I put on a little more
People's
mascara today, so you probably can't see them.
Yeah, she's giving you a bedroom eye, honey.
They-
Chef George.
They're tired. We've been in this. You know, today Monday. He's off on Monday, so we're running around taking care of stuff. We're going on vacation again next week, so we're just, not vacation, just a little trip. So we get some stuff done.
I love your life.
Awesome. I know she's always traveling, but she won't fly. But she'll drive now.
I'll fly. Just won't fly peacefully, but I'm gonna fly.
Guys, I want to do a wellness check. Cindy, how you doing?
I'm good.
Spiritually?
I'm good today. Starting a new project. Today's the first day of work on a new musical project in New York. That's why I'm here. I'm back in New York. Thank you. And some good news coming down the pipeline. I got a show coming up June 20th at Rockwood Music Hall here in New York City. I've gotten sponsors to sponsor blocks of tickets so we can offer them to students who are in the arts, like graduates in the arts who haven't performed in 2 years and have had a hard time trying to like see what's up with the art scene in New York. So it'll give them a chance to see some world-class musicians do their thing at the generosity of some sponsors. So if you're looking to be a sponsor and you want to sponsor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 tickets for our Rockwood Music Show for Butterfly Black, hit me up in the chat and we'll talk.
Absolutely,
How
Shonda. Well,
much of the ticket?
how much of the ticket?
Let me see what I could do.
$20.
Oh, we can do that. We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
You know, it's for us who understand what it was like being a broke student, who are now blessed, who can spread the love.
And when is your thingy? I'm sorry, your concert?
Oh, the show is June 20th. So I'll be
Okay.
promoting it all through then.
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to give you $5 for every shirt I make from now until next
Woo!
week.
You heard it.
Ooh.
Fundraising.
Fun.
Yeah,
You put the fun in fundraising, girl.
Hey, Cindy, that's Juneteenth. That's by design or that's coincidence?
Isn't Juneteenth June 19th?
It's the 19th, right?
If it is, that's Father's Day.
Yeah, and also Juneteenth.
Okay.
So the following day, it's a Monday night.
My
a
calendar,
Monday night.
that's the 20th, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know why
Guys,
it's
make
on-
sure your Facebook is on public for all of our listeners. If you're on here, please share. Share. I know, Shonda, you usually check me, and I made sure it was. But all of our listeners, if you're here, please go ahead and hit that share button, and we're gonna get right into it. But Ryan, how are
Yes.
you doing? I'm still doing my wellness check.
Yes, doing good. Just to really follow up, the reason why it's on my Monday on my calendar because it's a substitute for that Sunday. They celebrate it on the Monday because it's on the. So I was just clarifying
Oh,
that.
love that. So you guys are like celebrating the national holiday for real, for real.
No,
Bank
it's
closed and
official.
everything.
I think last year it was
That's
official.
good.
Right now, it's official,
They made
right?
it official.
Yeah. So that's why it's celebrated on the 20th, but your show's like the day of or whatever. So, but yeah, it's the 19th.
I love it.
Wellness check. Wellness check.
Yeah. How are you doing today? What's your mood like today?
I'm doing good today. I'm doing good today. I had one of my lectures was rather short, so it wasn't that taxing of a day today as far as my lectures. So, you know, I'm good, man. I'm good. I have a couple of things I was thinking about talking about today, so we'll see how it
Okay.
goes. We'll see where we go today. Looking forward to seeing and meeting our guests. Never met our guests before. So
Absolutely. And Dr. Shonda, we heard that you were tired. So is that your mood for today?
But I'm good tired though. It's not like I'm working because I'm drawn out tired. It's a good tired. I got to spend time with, my man, honey, and that's always a good time. The kids get on my nerves, but we had a good time today.
George, don't come for me.
It was a kind of self-care day for both of us. Got a little retail therapy in, and we had breakfast and stuff. We did some stuff together. So I had a good day. I'm a good tired.
Absolutely.
Tired in love.
Yeah.
Tried in love. Tried
Today.
in love.
today,
We'll be all night. Love.
Wow! Get it, Fred.
No, we be all night.
Well, wait,
No.
I want to send it
No.
to you. While you
watermelon.
Cindy said,
Wait.
But, but guys,
Ryan, yeah.
let's jump right into it. We're here. Well, speaking of my mood, I'm actually sick, came down with a little cold, but I'm gonna get through it. But when I see you guys, I just absolutely just love looking forward to see. No, seriously, like I look forward to seeing my family. And the moment that I see all of us, see what's going on with our lives, it does put a smile on my face. And for a minute, I'm not coughing. But I love this family, and I love our talk show. I love that our platform allows us to talk about things. And I wanted to come up with my 2 topics for today. And one of the first ones, me being a parent, and I also do have adult children, right? And at what point, and that's topic number 1, okay? When should parents stop supporting their adult children? Should they stop at the age of maturity, which in some, I think here in the state of Florida, it's 18. Some states it could be 16, some 19. But do we literally cut them off so that they can go out into the world to figure it out? Or if we decide to continue to take care of them, are we enabling them to know what it's like to hustle and to get out and work? So there's 2 sides to this, right? There is no manual that comes with parenting. I can only say that we do what's best for us, but then sometimes I do question myself as a parent, because I'll be the first ones to tell you, I still take care of my adult children. Not 100%, but there are some bills that I still help them, especially when they're in college. Like if they're doing something productive, I don't mind. But then there are some parents who, the moment you turn 18, and they feel as though my obligation as a parent is to raise you to the age of maturity and adulthood. So at 18, they have to get out the house. You either go off to college or you go to the military, and I've done my job. I would love to hear from you guys which way, 1, how did your parents treat you? And then 2, what would you do in this case? Who wants to go first?
Since I got a bunch of children, let me get my answer out of the way.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. I think are we speaking under normal circumstances? Because, and I said that to say,
What's normal though?
normal. Well, my household wasn't normal. So when I say normal, I mean kids go to school, graduate, go to college, move out on their own, done, right? There are some situations, there are some households that raising certain children was a strain. So they may have had to leave at 18, 17, 16, 15, whatever the case may be. I'm just saying, whatever the case may be. So then at that time, that parent may feel like since you're disrespectful and you're not doing what you should do, no, I'm not helping you. But then you may have a child in that household that is going to school, that's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to help you as long as you're being productive. That's what I mean by normal was my first scenario. But under no circumstances, when you have a child or an adult child that is doing what they're supposed to do, being productive and not breaking the law and doing criminal acts and whatever, yes, I'm going to help. I'm going to support. Now, what does support look like? No, I'm not going to. Well, let me stop lying. I'm about to say pay your bills because I do pay.
I pay that one cell phone bill and that one car note.
Wait.
I do. I mean, not car note, car insurance. Car insurance.
Like I said, it depends on why. It depends on why I had to. You understand what I'm saying? It's not that I won't. I have to ask why. Why are you asking me this? What did you do with your money? Like there's certain things. I'm gonna always be there to guide you. I'm gonna always be there to help you. Because they're not gonna get it all. So Elijah doesn't live home, right? But there's still some things I have to help Elijah with. I still have to remind him, pay your FP&L bill. I still have to tell him, do this. I still send him certain things that he has to do. Until he can figure it out month to month on his own, I'm going to help him. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sure he has the information he needs to get stuff done because I know he's still trying to balance football, trying to balance school, trying to balance paying his bills. He has a lot that he has to try to figure out on his own. So I'm always sending him reminders. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. And until he could tell me, okay, Mom, I did this already, I won't do it anymore. Then I have, the other two that's staying here. Gigi just turned 18 last year in 12th grade. You can't put her out at 18. She's still in school. And even if she is there older, you know what I mean? I'm going to still support her and take care of her. Then I have a 24-year-old that's still here. He works a full-time job. He does what he's supposed to do. If he says, Mom, I need $10 for gas, I'm going to give him gas money. I'm not paying his bills. Now, he has car insurance. He has cell phone bills. Stuff that Sean has to pay, he pays on his own. But as far as giving him a roof over his head until he's ready to get up and go take care of himself spiritually, financially, emotionally, physically, until he can do that on his own, then yes, he can stay in this house until he's able to take care of himself. Because him going outside the house and not able to take care of himself, and it falls back on me, what's the purpose? You might as well just stay here until you can figure out life on your own. Then yes, you can stay here. But now I need to help you get there. You can't just sit here and not do nothing. What's our plan from year to year? You're okay, you're 24 now. What are we doing from 24 to 25? What's your plan to move out? Have you put money aside? Have you done this? So it's one thing of enabling them and supporting them. It's two different things, right? So I just try to make sure, and he's my oldest, and I think I spoiled him the most. But now I'm trying to work my way out of that. But you just have to make sure you're not enabling them to be lazy and not want to do anything more and, stuff like that. But I think helping with this and helping out with that and figuring out stuff, we can do that. But you can't ask me to pay a bill when you buy $300 shoes.
I know that's right.
That's
Cindy, I know I met you right out of high school. How did Dad raise you? Did you have... When you lived in the house, did you have to pay bills? Did he support you? And then what are your thoughts about parents still taking care of adult children?
I was taught to, I observed and I learned to be an entrepreneur at an early age. Both of my parents and my stepmom have been entrepreneurs. My mother is a hairstylist, beautician, owned several businesses throughout my life. And my father is a coach. So I've always watched them figure out how to make money. Mm-hmm. And at an early age, I always worked to help supplement bills and supplement just survival. I got a job early. I did help pay bills in my own in the house. I wasn't really a kid like from I would say 13 into my adulthood. I never was like a typical kid. I was ready to work and I was ready to go and hustle my own money because I just wanted to be able to help and have my own money to take care of myself. Right. When I moved to New York, I have godparents who helped put me through school and really created a sense of stability for me to go after my dreams. in another way. But I still worked. I remember in high school, I somehow convinced my friends to do a car wash with me on US 1 and 144. Where
That's
the
right.
Publix is, where the Starbucks is, the drive-through Starbucks on US 1.
Yeah.
And do a car wash with me so I could raise money
Wow.
to eat,
Right.
I remember doing a soccer camp for my dad so I could buy a car. I'd find ways to make money and sell things to supplement. So for me, that was my mindset. But I think also there's a question on in the chat saying, what do you mean by support? Financially, yes. Mentally, spiritually, I think you're bound for life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't help, like we weren't in a financial situation where my parents could help me.
Right.
So I had to help myself.
Ryan.
So,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sam.
But I think but the support of my dad showing up and being there, he brought me lunch every single day, whether he cooked it or he bought it from Chicken Kitchen. We ate lunch every single day in school. So he was there for emotional support and psychological support, but financial support, not all. It was tough. It was hard. Yeah. So I don't hold parents up for that kind of stuff.
Ryan, I'm gonna throw a different question at you. There are some people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They're born into wealth.
Why you ask the white man that question? Then?
Wait, why do you have to be a black or white
Civic
kid?
advantage.
Listen,
I want to answer them other questions. I don't know
my
about those
kids
silver
grew up
spoon.
in middle class. They
with
don't
you.
know
Go
what
ahead.
it's like to be
I'm
in the
messing
hood.
with you.
Like
Go
my
ahead.
life. My kids do not know what it was like to be in the hood, Sucker Plaza.
I'm
Right.
messing with you. So go ahead, because I've seen them both. As
I'm still waiting for my car to get returned from Circle Plaza.
Girl, you ain't getting that.
You ain't getting that back.
But I don't have children, but I've dealt with and I've raised a bunch of other people. So and worked with them as well. And go ahead with the silver spoon question, but I'll speak to the 18 question as well.
When your parents have the means to take care of you financially, do you think that we enable the children by always providing them with everything, so then they don't know how to go out and work? Like I see some kids who are driving Mercedes Benz in high school, and I'm like, it took me 40 years just to get my Benz. Like when you are born into wealth, how do you feel about parents who just give their kids everything? And do they still have that strength to go out and work if they know mommy and daddy's going to give them everything?
So it depends on the parent, not on the wealth. I will say that much. Okay. And so what I'll say about this is, like I said, I'm not a parent. I don't have children, but two things. I've worked with a bunch of other people's children for many years, and I teach about parenting styles. So when I speak about this, I would actually speak from the standpoint of the research and the studies that have been done on parenting styles. And so what you really described from the wealthy parents with the silver spoon, that's borderline permissive, indulgent type of parenting style, where they never tell the child no. They give them whatever they want beyond spoiling. They never tell them no. And if you don't tell a child no, you don't prepare them for the real world. So that's that end of the spectrum, where you're actually not preparing the child for the real world, because you're not actually giving them boundaries and telling them no. You don't want to do that, because then they're not fit in that sense. But I would like to point out that as I was listening to Cindy and I was listening to Dr. Shana respond, the chat pretty much has it really on point. Miss Lynette Brooks talks about it, and Fred made a comment, and Christina did as well. And all of them said this really depends on the dynamic and the family and the child and the parent, really, in terms of the 18 question, going back to that. If you have a follow-up, TK, about the silver spoon, if I didn't address that, come back at me. But I just want to make sure I pointed out that this idea that there's a set age limit or time frame in which children are ready to now be adults 100% to kick them out is really nonsensical. It's really oftentimes an approach that an authoritarian type of a parent takes, where I've done what I've done. I'm your parent for 18 years, did the best I could. Now your time and you do what you do. But the unfortunate thing is very oftentimes parents with that style, that authoritarian style, have done nothing for 18 years really to prepare that child to be able to be gone at 18. So it's kind of a catch. And so the authoritarian parents very oftentimes do not work with the child in terms of flexibility, responsibility, growth, communication. It's just do what I say while you're here. And then when you're 18, you can go do whatever you want. But they can't do whatever they want because they don't know how to do anything.
They don't know how.
No. Yeah. And I say this, and I'll end on this in terms of this 18-year-old thing. I think that's the time when you start looking at what have I done as a parent? What have I done for 18 years to prepare this child to be an effective adult? And what are they ready for? Then let me nudge them a little bit to go, hey, are you ready to get your own place? And do you have, or do you want to work and stay here and pay a little rent here to gain some responsibility? Stay at home and pay rent to live at home. I mean, there's a lot of this, you have to be flexible in your way of thinking about what you're doing with the children. And so what I talk about with authoritarian parents, and just really quickly with authoritarian parents, is this really authoritarian parents is not so much what they do, it's what they don't do. Authoritarian parents are really, really strict disciplinarian parents, and there's nothing wrong with discipline, and that's all they do. No love, no affection, no communication, no conversation, no responsibility, no flexibility, nothing at all except for strict disciplinarian military style approach. And I'm pro-military, but when you think about a parenting style, that's not going to cut it. You need other elements there for that child to grow and learn. And what the problem is when you have that style of parenting in the household, that's the only style, by the way, because there could be a mix. There could be an authoritative parent or grandparent, an authoritarian parent, and the child will be all right. But if you just have a single parent household with authoritarian parent, or mom and dad are both authoritarian, I talk about like 3 possible potential outcomes for that child when they grow up. There's 4. And the one is you grow up and you're fine. You're an exception.
Right.
That's not common. Usually it's one of the 3. You run away before 18. That's not a good look.
I did that.
Not a good look.
Down the street and came back.
Thank you for sharing. Down the street.
I ran
so where you going?
So the one thing that happens with authoritarian parents oftentimes is they don't even make it 18. They push back, rebel, they run away. We don't want that for children. The second thing is they turn 18 and they're ready to go. And the parents are like, you're 18. Get out the door, go. And they walk out the door and life flattens them. They get leveled. They don't know what to do. They've never been able to do anything and they get knocked down and they're done. The third one is they walk out the door, they're ready to go, get out, you're done, 18, and they go out the door and they do everything all at once. Teenage pregnancies, incarcerated, if not death, drug abuse. They run themselves into the ground because they never had any opportunity to figure out what's healthy, what's not, what's okay, how to make a mistake. We don't want any of those outcomes. So you have to approach the child depending on the child themselves. What have you done? What do they need to work on still? Are they quite ready? So this idea that there's an age range in which children are ready to become full-blown adults is really, I think just really unfortunate that we have that's the case, and you have to really take things on a case-by-case basis.
I agree with you, Ryan. I think the 18 mark is purely commercial. It's so they can get into society and begin producing and making money for the economy.
That's good.
It has very little to do with
out to do that is wrong, I think. Yeah.
But you have to be 18 to work, right? So if you have 18 to work and you have certain liberties, you're considered an adult, and then you can contribute to society. It just sort of like combats child labor laws, right? So now you're 18, you are eligible.
You're considered an adult.
You're considered an adult. You can be charged as an adult, et cetera, et cetera. You can enter the workforce sooner, and you can produce sooner, and so thus the economy. But mentally you're not. But mentally you're not prepared.
And maybe sorry, Cindy. Maybe they need those responsibilities legally, and now it's like take these on, get used to these because you do not need to carry those. But that that shouldn't really mean or equal that they're ready to be completely independent.
Right. And I think because my father is a coach, he taught me early on and integrated me into the workforce because he empowered me to think like an entrepreneur and sort of work and integrate with people early. So that helps because you help dive into the mind of the child and help them think critically in certain situations. That line of communication is that I love those 2 words so much. I learned them back in high school, authoritative and authoritarian. Right. And those are 2 parenting styles that operated in my household. And I did not gravitate toward the authoritarian style. Mm-hmm. I rebelled against that and was more attracted to the authoritative style, someone that works with the child rather than sort of dictates what they do. So speaking from as being a former child, only in age, I think it can be more productive. There are scales of it, right? Discipline is also
Right.
goes with what authoritarian,
Right.
authoritative is kind of can be lax, but it helps, and you have to slide that scale depending on the child.
Right.
Right.
Shonda, I'm gonna end this topic with you with the last question because we're both parents, and this is what I get, especially from that girl. It's something about the
I
girl.
know what you about to
The,
say.
the boy doesn't bother me. He doesn't even ask me for a penny, and I think it's a male pride. But that girl of mine, when she say I'm grown,
Ooh,
Mom, I'm grown,
I knew you was gonna say
but then
that.
she still comes back to me to ask for help. So how do you deal with them throwing it in your face that they are grown? You can't tell me what to do, but you still live under my roof.
Don't nobody in this house tell me that. Not a one.
Okay.
They would.
I wish they would.
Not
Okay, because these
one.
We going
you
to?
be paying another
All
bill.
of
You be paying another bill.
Baby, not
You
a
need some
one.
clicking teeth after that.
Gigi may try to, say something because she'll end up with a Kiki. I'd be like, Kiki, hell, little girl, don't play with me. Don't even try it. For your safety and my sanity, going upstairs somewhere because I'm not the one or the two. I don't play with these children, girl. They don't play with me. Don't play.
I swear. That's all she tells me is that she's grown.
How old is she? How old is she,
She's
TK?
24. And she could not, Ryan, she could not wait till she turned 21.
But she don't live with you. That's why she says that.
Right. She's out of my house, Ryan. She pays all of her bills. But every now and then when she does need help, right? When you're in college, we know the struggle, right? But the moment that I try to help her or I take care of her financially with something, if I try to give her advice, she say I'm trying to tell her what to do. So we're at that phase that she's trying to let go, but don't let go. Or
So you stuck though because
am I holding on and I'm not letting go? I don't know.
You kind of stuck though because you're enabling her a little bit. Stop paying all that. Stop contributing financially. I bet she come to you and actually listen to your advice and not just take the money though. That's on you a little bit.
Shonda, didn't I tell you that? I said it.
Grown.
I said it.
Yeah.
I
Them kids spoiled.
I think
I've known them a long time. Them two is spoiled.
They spoiled.
When my kids, okay, and I think I have pushed independence on them so much till I have to tell Elijah, call me if you need me. There's something happened this weekend. His girlfriend said, call your mom. No, I'm not calling my mom. She got enough to deal with. But then I ended up calling for a random reason and ended up helping with that situation anyway. And she was looking at him like, see, I told you to call your mom. She fixed it. But he does not tell him, like, don't feel like you can't call me. So because I want them to be independent, it's kind of like they don't want to ask because she gonna think I can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I always tell them, I'm here to help. Me and Dad are here to help. But I don't want you to run to me because I need to call your doctor or something like that. Do stuff what you have to do and call me before stuff gets too bad. Don't call me when stuff is already under the bridge and I gotta swim you and get you up out of there. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of like the catch-22. You don't want them to be independent. When they become independent, they don't want to call you because they want you to feel they're independent. So I have that struggle with Elijah right now. Call me, son. Do not wait till the last minute. Let me help you. But
that's my son too.
Man, so.
Yeah, TK, I know you're wrapping up. I know you're wrapping up right now. We got somebody waiting on a special guest. But I was gonna say,
I can't wait.
It's also difficult. I was gonna say because you're always gonna be their parent. So I'm telling you, don't help them financially and see what happens. But it's easier said than done. You're their parent. You're always gonna want to be there for them and help them out. So I know.
That says grown people paddle their own canoe.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow. Tell her that.
No, I told her. I said grown people pay bills, and then I hung up the phone.
Oop, click. I will say this last thing. Yeah. I think my favorite thing, if anyone were to ask me what's your favorite thing about your dad, I would say who is the authoritative approach. I say that if I'm in a pinch, he's the best brainstorm partner.
Yeah.
He'll help me think something through. He may not be able to help me financially, but he'll help me develop a thought process. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a strategy to get through a situation, which is invaluable. It's more valuable than money.
100%.
That's right. 100%.
I do a lot with my kids. Yeah, it's good.
And speaking of the lady that's up there in the corner, it's time for her to do her spotlight.
Cindy's spotlight. Cindy's spotlight.
You better sing ours the same way, loud too.
We're still working on y'all. We're still working on y'all. Mine was short and catchy. All right, y'all. Welcome to Cindy's Spotlight, where I, Cindy Winters, bring you arts and culture news and special event announcements. So, have y'all heard about Dave Chappelle getting assaulted at the Hollywood Bowl? Did you hear that headline?
I heard about it, but I haven't.
I wasn't sure if he got hit. Did someone actually touch him or what?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I don't have the clip here, but in fact, Dave Chappelle was on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, a very large live venue. It's very popular live venue. And while he was on stage doing a performance, doing his set for Netflix, a fan or an audience member rushed the stage and collided with Dave. And quickly, his security got on it. And they immediately removed the man from the stage, and he was carried away on a stretcher with his arm was broken, and he had several kicks. So that man is Isaiah Lee. Isaiah Lee is now charged with he was charged with a misdemeanor for attacking Dave for assault. But he is currently in the news right now again for a felony charge. The publicity of this event with Dave Chappelle actually brought up an earlier incident with Isaiah Lee's former roommate, saying that he stabbed his roommate, and that's a felony charge. So he's on a count of manslaughter. So this 23-year-old man, for reasons he expressed for charging Dave Chappelle, was he's a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, and he also experienced homelessness and felt that Dave's material was insensitive to the community, and that he should think about what his material is before, so it doesn't offend all the people that are there. I will say that Lee also said that he suffers from mental illness and is currently behind, awaiting his trial and all of that in jail. So that's the news. There's some entertainment news for you. But TK, you had a thought?
I have questions because, okay, I understand Will Smith now jumping on stage, and now this guy jumping on stage. Where's security? So now are these comedians just at risk now? Like,
so that's the question now. Is like, correct. So it's now, do you
start telling jokes with guns in their hand or something?
Right. So Lee actually was had a concealed weapon on him. He had a gun replica with a knife built inside, and the knife was sharp. So I don't know how he got through security with a weapon. It's and he made it on stage. And Hollywood Bowl is a large stage and extremely large audience seating. And it's all outdoors. So I'm not sure how he got through, but the way that he came in was not the way he went out. And he was upset that he was assaulted by Dave Chappelle's security. And I said, really?
Yeah. You're not even safe anymore. I mean, we're not going to get into that, but speaking of mental health, we're going to go into that. But just our condolences to all the families that was affected in the grocery store shooting. Like, you go to a grocery store and not even make it back home. Like, the times that we're living in is crazy. So speaking of mental health, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I am just so happy.
Oh, wait, I wasn't done with my spotlight.
Oh, Cindy, wait, let me shut up. Okay, go.
So that was the news.
Oh,
and then I have a special announcement.
Oh, go.
On this Friday, we got Cindy Spotlight Music Monday. Butterfly Black is coming out with a new acoustic version of our latest single, I Just Want to Love You. We decided to do this because we were asked. We were asked by our fans to put out a version that's sort of reminiscent of our previous work, Ben Williams and my previous work. Ben Williams is prolific jazz bassist and singer, and I've had some sort of experience in jazz music as well with my show about Lena Horne. So here's a little sneak peek.
That girl got range.
groove for me, like the acoustic and the original, like that is one of my favorites. Like you don't even understand. I get dressed to it.
Thank you. Thank you. So that song, that acoustic cover will be available everywhere on all streaming platforms on Friday. So go and pre-save it now on my Instagram page.
Always support you, Cindy. I love it. Absolutely. Guys, make sure share the link in the chat, Sin, so they all can be there and support you. Coming out this Friday, right?
That's right. New Music Friday.
All right. And speaking of mental health for May, break the stigma, I am so excited to introduce our special guest with us today. She is the one and only Dr. Venus Miller, but the woman that has the most prefix and suffix to her name: DNP, APRN, FNP, BC, PMHNP, BC, family and psychiatric nurse practitioner, motivational speaker, the real psych NP. Guys, give it up for Dr. Miller. She is in the building. Yes, she is. Intro.
Well, good evening. How are you guys doing?
We miss you.
I miss you too. I've been all over the place, but I'm back.
We miss you. How you been?
I'm good, baby. I'm good.
It's so good to hear your voice and see your face.
Yes.
Awesome to see you, beautiful people, and welcome, young man.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You. Yes, I can't wait. You two remind me so much of each other. You two have the same background, and I cannot wait to get into the topic. So I'm gonna just jump right into it because Ryan, you talk about somebody that will break a term down and go so deep. Guys, I want to talk to the audience right quick. I believe that we all have gone through trauma. And if you haven't, I'm going to tell you like my grandmother always told me, baby, keep living. Keep living. And so Dr. Miller and Ryan, what made me come up with this second question is, yes, I've been through some traumatic things. And the most recent will be the death of my father, unexpected. And for me to hold his hand until he took his last breath, I buried him. I got through that. But then someone was talking about their father just the other day, and then it triggered. And then these emotions come back. And so my question is, do we ever heal from our traumatic experiences? So, Dr. Miller, I would love for you to break down, first of all, what is emotional and psychological trauma? And then I want to challenge you. Do we ever heal from our traumatic experiences?
That's an awesome question. I will answer the second part by telling you it's a process, and we are forever healing. And so in our healing process, there are areas in our life we may go to a counselor, we may go to church, we may do some things we ain't got no business doing in the part of our healing, right? But there are phases and stages to healing, and just like any process, you can always go backwards. This is why we use tools in therapy and psychology. And when you're in an instant trauma, whether that be a death or a loss of a girlfriend, boyfriend, loss of a pet, I want to take you now to emotional trauma. When I talk about emotional trauma, your emotional trauma is not mine. And mine is not yours. What emotionally moves you may not move me. Some people I have in my office, and I'm quite sure my partner will agree. Some people I have in my office for things that have happened like 3, 4, 5 years old, like the pet died when they got hit by the car. Now I have 40 and 50 and 60-year-old people who are multimillionaires, but they remember the trauma of that pet, and that can break people. Now, some people say that's not that serious, but for them to watch that trauma, to them, it's emotional trauma. So I want us to be mindful when we say emotional trauma, because you hear people say, man, just get over it. It ain't that serious. What I say to each client, anything that is serious to them is serious to me. My seriousness is not your serious. I don't get to judge you. I don't get to be in your mind. I don't live with you. I don't abide with you. And so just because somebody is traumatized emotionally by one thing does not mean that it's right or wrong or who has the most mental illness. It's about process, really, because my trauma, I'm just getting over. I'm 55 years old, but I will tell you, I was processing to at least 45 years old. Even though I, in the right term of words, I'm a successful woman. I have things going on, but success is not physical. Success is not financial. It really is mental. And we talk about emotional. If my emotions are out of whack, and say, for example, I have a breakup with my boyfriend, but I'm already emotionally drug out from the time my pet died when I was 5. By the time someone not my friend, then I'm 10 years old and now my dad leave. And now I'm 15 years old, I break up with my boyfriend. And by 20, they fired me from my job. If someone is emotionally impaired, mentally, they're going to be impaired. That's all they're thinking about. Just that one thing will throw them over. Case in point, we talked about the young man and going into the supermarket, us not being safe, but we have been tricked to believe that mental illness just looks like a safe person. Mental illness is not somebody say, I got mental illness, I'm wearing all black with red eyeliner, and I got 2 teeth. That's not mental illness. Mental illness can be just as dressed as I am, and in that one instance, because they're emotionally and mentally unstable, think about something. Now, people in the store probably didn't do nothing to him, but if I would have to speak to a young man, if I would ever interview him, my partner would agree. We would have to go back to childhood, back when the first break was back. It's people. It's so much. It's so complex. Yeah. When you talk about emotional health or wellness or lack of, and then you talk about why somebody does something, it's not a one-word answer. It's a multiplicity of things that brings a person to a point of break. I heard you talking about, I buried my father and I did this, but when this happened, that triggered me. I love the word trigger, but I don't like the word trigger. It didn't trigger you. It's just telling you that you are a human being. Trigger is such a negative connotation for me. I would say it brought up something that is a real emotion. My mom died when I was 5. I'm 55 years old. And every Mother's Day, you think I'm 5. Not because I haven't healed, not because I haven't grown, not because people have not ministered to me and I've taken on my healing. But the very presence, which we do to people, is like, once you don't feel nothing, you heal. That is not true. Unless you got a flat line, you dead. So I suggest, I suggest that you understand we're going to be like this. We just like a heartbeat. My pastor tell me, you keep telling me you don't want to feel nothing. You're going through this and going through that. The minute you stop going through, you flatline, you out of here. So for the rest of your life, we need to begin to teach people that you are going to have ups and downs. When we talk about psychology and psychiatry, the reason we come into play because people have an issue or a problem or so much trauma, they're having a hard time trying to adjust it. My partner may talk to you. I may medicate you. Then the church come in and your friend come in. So when you're talking about emotional impact and trauma, we got a lot to talk about. We ain't got enough time tonight. But I want to let you know, emotional trauma is not a one sentinel event. It is something that most of the time is a complexity of things. And I can't ever tell you when someone is totally resolved. Because as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to have a thought about my mama. And our side note with you, we talk about suicide and we talk about those things. The doctor beside me can answer you. Why do people shoot themselves in the head? They don't usually shoot themselves in the heart every now and then. But every time, most of the time, there's a suicide, there's a strangulation. I want to get this out my mind. I either walk in front of something, impact when people walk in front of trains. I either shoot myself because it's done, or I have somebody shoot me. Or if it flips, I'm going to hurt you like I'm thinking about. So there's such a complexity when you're talking to me about emotional things because it's so deep. It's not a one-word answer. I hope that helped you.
No, it does. And I would now love to hear from the cast, Cindy, Shonda, Ryan, and then Dr. Miller, listening to everyone. What would you recommend, Ryan, or some ways for people to begin healing?
Well, I like, first of all, I want to acknowledge how she talked about the complexity of it. That's a key word, how complex it is. And also how she acknowledged, Dr. Miller, that it's a case-by-case basis and people experience trauma differently, just like they experience, the favorite foods differently. It's really just, it's specific to the person and their history, their events, their psychology. So it is very person specific. That's very important as well. It's a tricky question because I think the question really speaks to or tries to get to the root of when is somebody healed or do we? And I guess I think one of the last things you said, Dr. Miller, was that it's not your place to say when somebody's healed. It's really their place. It's the person's place. And I think I would say that maybe healing would be where the person can have a memory of an event or a memory of an instance and not have the same defensive or psychologically defensive or fearful responses or painful responses. When you don't have that same physiological response or that emotional response to that event or to that past, even though you can recall it, if you can separate that, that might be considered healing there. But also, I think Dr. Miller also pointed out something else that's very excellent, which is it's a lifelong process. If you have a traumatic experience, you now will live the rest of your life with that traumatic experience being part of your life. Do you have to suffer from it for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. But it is now part of your new identity. So it has to become a part of who you are. And she talked about if you forget, you can regress. That's true. That's why your new identity has to be someone who's cognizant of what you need to do. So you live with the fact that you experience that. Your tools are in your pocket at all times, and you won't regress. Because if you forget your tools, you regress because it's a part of you, whether you realize it or not, consciously or unconsciously. So the complexity of it was really, really a fine point. And I hope that, if nothing else, the few things that I said there really highlight that complexity of it. Your question, TK, was what can people do to address their trauma or to heal?
Ways to heal, or how do you start?
The number one thing you need to do is acknowledge that you have something that is overwhelming you. I think, too, you need to get someone who's objectively professional to work with you to address that. And 3, you have to be willing to confront the thing that you experienced. I think the more and more I learn about trauma, about past pain and suffering that's going on currently, it has a lot to do oftentimes with the resistance to address, speak about even, acknowledge, write it down, confront it, think about the thing that's painful. It's counterintuitive. If it's painful and it's in my past, I don't want to talk about it, think about it because it's going to hurt. Well, I guess let me tell you what, you hold on to that pain for the rest of your life, or you try to avoid that for the rest of your life. You're going to have more pain for the rest of life than you would if you temporarily address it right now. It's going to be very painful, but better off down the road. So that mentality, I think, is really what they need to have, or at least come around to. The first one is acknowledging that you actually are struggling in a way and suffering in a way that you're not happy about it. 2, talk to somebody about, because many people don't know why they're suffering. They don't know what it is. Maybe they don't know there was trauma, but they know something's wrong. And then they find out, oh, that was traumatic. That explains what I'm going through. Then you work with somebody that can help you process that if you can't, and then be willing to confront the trauma. I think a lot of times we think that somehow people like Dr. Miller, an expert like that, can somehow wave a magical wand and then it's all gone. But really what happens is it's not that therapists and counselors and specialists make people get rid of their trauma or their pain. What they do is they help them develop the strength and the courage to confront the past. So they help them be more than they ever have, not get rid of something that used to be there. And so that's really the shortest answer I have in terms of the philosophy or the philosophical approach that you should have if you feel like you're suffering from past trauma. And again, like she said, it depends on the experience. It depends on the person. Is it a grieving situation? Is it an abuse situation? Is it violent in nature? Was it heartbreaking in nature? These are all factors that they matter when it comes to the person and how they address it. But I think in specific cases, what are they experiencing and how is it affecting them? And then you apply everything else that we just talked about.
Cindy, thank you, Ryan, so much for that. Cindy, what are your thoughts on trauma and dealing with trauma?
I agree with a lot of what Ryan is saying about dealing with it as it comes. You know, a lot of the suppression of trauma can come from the large T, is what Casey just sort of explained. Is like it's visceral. You will relive it. But and also the fear of being judged, looking bad and not looking good, feeling that you don't have the outlet, you don't have the environment in which you can deal with your trauma in a healthy way. You know, people see if you're crying, then they people can sort of pull away from you, or that fear of being even more ostracized and isolated by the way you feel based on your weakness at the time. And Dr. Venus was saying, you know, why people choose suicide. I recently lost somebody very, very, very close to me to suicide, and I talk about it all the time. I talk about her in the tense of which she was and is to me, and the person, and it's still in my mind that on the other side of the dash between the year that she was born is an end date. There are moments where I don't deal with it and I choose to live in her spirit. And then there are moments that occur to me and I find myself in this sort of deer in headlights feeling where you feel like the energy is being frozen or sucked out of you for that moment. And then I remember being on stage and I'm in front of 2,500 people and they're watching the show and I'm on the verge of a breakdown and I'm on the verge of tears and me thinking to myself, I could really fall out right now, but I got to sing next. And let me see if I can manage turning this pain into a therapy for somebody else who is coming to this show for healing. Because I know that this is an opportunity for somebody to get something from this. Because me crying right now is untimely and it doesn't work right in this moment. But trust and believe, I definitely have cried. And my castmates around me said, you know, do you need to go home? I said, being on tour is the best thing for me right now. Just bear with me. I'm going to be crying a lot. I'll cry here and there. Please don't step away from me. Just know that this is a part of it. This is what's happening. And I will talk about her and talk about the spirit she is and the legacy she's left. And that is going to help me with my process. Am I still stunned? 100%.
I feel you.
And I will always be stunned. But managing it and acknowledging it is what I've chosen to do. And I think it helps because then it makes other people comfortable about talking about how they feel about other things in their lives.
Great point. Dr. Shonda, it's no secret, and I hope you don't mind. You created Pain to Purpose, and you created it for a reason because you came out of an abusive relationship. Did you heal from that, and how did you heal?
So I'm glad you asked because I was going to even listen to all of you all. Everyone knows, like you said, everyone knows I've had that situation, and I use my platform, or I use Pain to Purpose as a platform to share my story to survivors, victims, whomever. And and you all also know I cry. I cry because I'm an empath. I feel. So if you tell me something today that's gonna make you cry, it's gonna make me cry because I feel when people feel. I can't help that. So when I tell my story, I feel my own pain. I feel what I felt back then. No matter how many times I share my story, no matter where I share my story, there may be a time or may not be a time where I may shed tears. And there's someone that came up to me and said that I should not tell my story until I'm healed because I can't be healed if I'm crying. I thank God that He bridled my tongue that day because I almost forgot who I was. Because I said, how dare you tell me when I'm healed or how I'm healed? Healing for me was sharing my story. From the moment I opened my mouth and I told my story at Miami-Dade Community College, that's when I began to heal. I wasn't healed 17 years prior to that when I was not talking about it, when I held it in, when I kept it to myself. I wasn't healed. I just suppressed it. It's when I started sharing my story and I started having nightmares. And it wasn't easy, but I started having nightmares. I started reliving. I started waking up next to my husband, fighting him, thinking I'm fighting away somebody else because I did not start healing until I started sharing my story, which made me share my story even more because the more I started sharing, the more of it I started sharing. I started remembering things. I remembered that I attempted suicide. I remembered things that happened to me that I thought I forgot about. And that's when I was able to confront it. I didn't forget that I attempted suicide. I forgot how I felt when I attempted suicide. I forgot how the healing was when I attempted suicide. So I use all of that, TK, when I'm sharing my story, when I'm talking to somebody one-on-one. And I encourage them to talk about it, even if they don't share on a big platform, but talk about it because sometimes as when you go through a traumatic situation, you hold it in, you feel like, okay, since I'm not talking about it, I must be healed. I must be okay. And that is so wrong. I didn't have the wherewithal to go talk to a therapist. I didn't know that I should talk to a therapist at the time. I just felt like, I'm not talking about it anymore and I'm done. But not talking about it and not being healed at that time poured
Right.
into my new marriage. It poured into friendships. It poured into jobs. Baby, nobody was safe around me because you couldn't say anything to me. You couldn't do anything to me. You couldn't be close to me. You couldn't, there were things that you could not do to me. And to this day, a certain amount of closeness makes me uncomfortable.
Ooh, you can't even yell at me.
There's certain things you can't do or say to me that I've learned now how to handle it, to cope with it better. Before I didn't. Before I started healing, I didn't. So I said it to say I'm still healing, and I will always be healing. I feel until I'm no longer on this earth, because it's something that happened to me for 10 years of my life. And everything that I deal with on a daily basis, people who I interact with, my own children, my husband, my family, I have to remember I'm not in that situation anymore. I've been married to George 20 years, and there are still times where there's something that brings back that memory. It could be a TV show, it could be
Right.
somebody else's situation. It's just something that we're always going to do. So I feel that people are always healing from their situation. I don't know if someone ever be healed from it, but I feel that we always have to make a conscious decision and an effort to continue to heal.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
to sum up everything, if there is someone listening and they don't know where to go, two-part question. Do you believe that healing, like Dr. Shonda just said, is it an ongoing process? How do we know when we're healed or over something? Would we ever be? Is my question to you.
Good two-part difficult question. But
Woo!
I think that there are parts to healing. I was much like Shonda when I first began to share my story about my mom's death. I was over every time. It would take me at least 2 weeks to recover.
Mm-hmm.
But that time did get shortened.
Yes.
And then I went through a healing place in my life spiritually that for me, I remember what happened, but the pain is no longer there.
Right.
It doesn't mean that when Mother's Day come, it might not spark it or hit it. The difference in me now is that it doesn't take me back to suicidal thoughts. It doesn't take me back to where I want to harm myself or others.
Right.
It doesn't take me back where I'm so incapacitated mentally that I can't get out the bed.
Right.
It takes me now to recovery and how to help others. But I am with Shonda when I say that happened at a phase for me. And every phase is differently. So do I believe we can be healed from things? Yes, I do. But it's also individualistic. And that's in part. I still don't want people standing too close to me. You still can't wake me up out my sleep. You still can't tap me on my right shoulder. They still can't bang on the door because I'm still startled in certain ways. Not to the point of incapacitation, but to the point that I know it's alarming. There are still things that I avoid. There are still things I ain't going to tolerate. There's still time I want to drag people. At 55 years old, I still want to drag you with all my degrees and my jacket on. But then I have to also think about the consequences.
Right.
And so life as it is teaches us how to process through. I think psychiatry and psychology comes when we get stuck or I heard the other doc say, the way we handle it. So we have negative behavior. So my thing, I run a facility, they're all drug related and mental health. When I sit with every story, I promise you, I haven't had one story that don't go back to childhood or that trauma. And the difference between me and them is that I didn't use drugs for mine. I didn't get stuck in that one. I no longer have suicidal thoughts. But in their case, they need the help of the psychologist, psychiatrist. They need shows like this. They need Dr. Shonda. They need you. So everybody needs something and everybody don't get out. The complexity is so great. Can we do it? Absolutely we can. But you have to want to work the work and do the work for your own health. I spend a little bit of my time blaming. For example, I blame Shonda because Shonda stepped on my toe. But there was one person that stepped in my life said, I hear your story. It is actually a good one, but how long you going to run that back? Before you take accountability, responsibility to unplug what someone has. You cannot change people, but you can change you and the way you deal with things. So when I say it's more than one question to answer, can you be healed? I believe so. Is the process different for everybody? Yes. Will you not ever feel pain? No. You have to decide what you need for you to do and do it. And that takes help from others. Medication is okay if you need it. Therapy is okay if you need it. Going to church is okay if you need it. I don't get to tell Shonda that if she don't go to church on Sunday, she won't make it. We have to embrace others, how they heal and help them heal. And so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You were on. No, go
and
ahead.
your second part of your question was what? You wanted to know if what? How to do that? Or when
Yes.
you know you're healed? I don't know if this happens to anybody else. Even when somebody does something to me, it used to take me 4 years for me to speak to you. Take about 4 days.
Girl.
And then I think about 4 years at least, and I'm still mad at you, your mama, and your 7 cousins. Anything that looked like you, the letter in your name, everything, until I had to go and say, you can't. I can hold a grudge, but professionally and proficiently, I felt like I needed to be healed in order to help anybody heal. And it's dangerous to have a doctor behind your name and you're not healed, shilling out stuff to folk because you got a title. So I tell people the reason I took up healing, all the degrees I have by my name, there's a lot of people in my hand. I can be selfish and lie, but the truth is I was hurting at a place. So even though I was professionally sound, I wasn't emotionally sound. So all I can give you is that. So one of my pieces for being healed or healing, always searching for that, is that I have somebody else in my hands. And would I want somebody to give me a mess? And so I made accountability for myself, that if I am on this platform or if I have been through those traumas, what would I give back to someone who was traumatized like me? I would give them love. I would give them peace. I would tell them the truth. I would tell them it's going to hurt. I would tell them, get the help you need, physical, spiritual, mental. Do whatever you need to do and do it healthy so that you can reciprocate. A healing for me also comes, and I get to tell people that yes, you can. And yes, you can because Dr. Miller did, but yes, you can because you can. So my healing it comes in different stages, and I felt like I became accountable and responsible. One season, I ain't give a doggone about you or your mama. You're going to get what you get. But there was a time, and as I grew as an adult, if you want to go scripture, the Bible tells me that I was a child, so I spake as a child. But when basically I grew up, now you got to put away those childish things. So I began to take my therapy seriously. My psychologist told me, I know what you're saying. I know what happened. But what tool are you going to apply so you don't continue to damage myself? And lastly, the thing that really got me is when I started to have grandchildren, because my children were impacted by what I gave them, which impacted my grandchildren. And I had to go back and say, I'm sorry, so I can have the nation behind me not act out in my own emotional hurt, because we give our kids what we got. And so you're hurting, but you're just not hurting. You're hurting everything around you. So I had to really take accountability. And that's hard to take when you've been hurt so much, because you want everybody else to be accountable. Right. I had to take accountability for my hurt that I didn't give myself, so that the nation behind me, my grandkids, my relationship, my husband, my job, don't get that. So it was a lot of accountability. It was a lot of therapy for me. It was a lot of me taking it back without saying they okay, because they don't get a pass because what they did to me. What I did was reverse it back, that you don't get to do it to me anymore. In death, in life, and afterwards. Because people do things to us, they die or don't give a crap, don't say they're sorry, and you walk around with that as you're trying to go. They still got you. They're still holding you. That's when I learned to unplug. I learned it from a psychologist when I went to therapy, a therapist. I'm gonna need you to unplug. I said, no, that means they win. It don't mean they win. No. It means that you win. So if you're going to heal, please believe it's a process. If you're going to do that, you're going to still cry, and I still get mad. I still be like, let me call up my daddy. They ain't here no more. Let me tell you a few things. Then I have to go back to my therapy tools. And it's okay if you're not okay. It's okay. But it's the shame that come with it, that people that are the most depressed get the most pushback, and then it's suicide, because they can't talk to you when they say they can talk to you. If I'm gonna say this one disclaimer, I'll probably be quiet. If you cannot psychologically impact somebody, I'm gonna need you to shut up. That's probably in therapy that Dr. Barr get me later. I'm gonna need you to be quiet about giving information to someone that's really depressed, anxious, and suicidal, because that one word will turn their mind and they'll never be the same. So we have to be mindful. See, now it's mental health month. It's mental health all the time for me, but mental health is not, you know how Suicide was thing on top. Domestic violence was the big thing. Money come behind this stuff. I'm not talking to you about money. All the money in the world can't bring back nobody's life. So this ain't money month. This is mental health, meaning check your own mental health, because that's what wealth is. I need us to check us before we start dealing with other people. It's already bad. If we as people, therapists, psychologists, mothers, fathers, friends, lawyers, pastors, all of us people that help somebody else, the message tonight is for you to make sure you are right, because people hold us in their hands. And if we can't do nothing else, let the mental health world with the titles be all right, because we got people to serve.
Yeah.
So it's a multi thing.
Ryan,
we need a round of applause for that one, Ryan.
You know what I mean? I'm actually lost for words, because she just took us home.
Maybe she dropped the mic.
It dropped the mic and left. Okay, just left. Just leave the building. I don't know. I just feel as though, Ryan, I'm gonna throw this one at you. How do you know? How does a person know it's me with the issue? I hope I'm making sense, guys.
I think you have something in your mind, particularly that you're thinking of, that specifically that would help me answer your question, because a lot of people have a lot of different types of issues. But you mean particular to what?
I'm gonna say it, and hopefully you guys can catch it. I don't know if I'm articulating it correctly. A person is always angry, and they're yelling at you, and they're taking it out on you, but they're dealing with something deeper.
Okay.
How do they know that something is wrong with them and they need help?
Well, I would, just to be, I guess, compassionate, don't even use the word wrong with them.
Okay.
There's an issue at hand, I think. And I think the answer would be that they need to look at the patterns in the relationships, multiple relationships in their lives. You can have a response from somebody, one person, and it ends up the same way every time. But if I'm going to say it like this, if everybody else is an asshole, you're the asshole. So we just
everybody else.
Yeah. So we'll pull that back to mental health. If everybody else is the problem, whatever the problem is, that's when you start saying, wait a second, this can't be a coincidence. Like, hold on a second. I'm the common denominator in all my relationships, and all my relationships is ending up this way or that way. Let me step back and see what role I'm playing in that. But that's hard to do for a person that even gets to that point, because that requires to accept responsibility. Dr. Miller said it already. You have to accept responsibility to a certain extent. And I have a really, it's a very important point for me. The responsibility point and this fine line between taking responsibility and then people also, I don't want to go on too long. And I was thinking about talking about this in a different segment, let's just say, but to answer your original question, you have to look at the patterns in your own life and the results that you're getting. And you have to somewhat be objective and somewhat be open to and receptive of what's happening in those relationships. If there are patterns that are taking place with people that don't know each other, it's your family. Maybe your brother talks to your sister, talks to your mom. You're going to be like, oh, all y'all talk about me and it's your bias. But then when you go to church and you sit next to some people and then you hear about it from a family that don't even know your family, or you're at a ball game, or you're at class and your professor gives you feedback that your father also gave you, and they never talk to each other, that should be a light bulb to say, wait a second, I've heard this before, and they don't talk to each other. So why are they both saying the same thing, as opposed to blaming them by default? But you got to remember, people oftentimes who are struggling are very fragile at the core. So I can't accept that I'm responsible for what I'm doing because I'm already in pain. If I accept that, that means I'm responsible, and it's even more painful. It's a vicious cycle to a certain extent, but that's the journey that they need to start on. Can I go on the journey towards looking around and saying, what role am I maybe playing in all of this, and ease into that responsibility of, I actually can maybe look at what I'm doing in these relationships that I'm responsible for, and then to change to get a different result. That would be my initial response to answer that question, CK.
But they have to do some self.
TK, can I add something to what the doctor's saying real quick?
Please.
He's being nice, I think.
Yeah.
What we're trying to say, and what we're saying as a team,
okay,
is that I hear when you make that statement, I used to make it a lot. The truth is, what in the heck you gonna do about somebody else? Nothing. No. So while we are saying that this person is not changing, you already at a dead end, because there's nothing you can change in anyone else. Now you saying this person is not getting it. And in their mind, they think we not getting it. And the only person that need to get it is you.
Mm.
Get the fact that some individuals are in a place that they are in, and all of you, depending on type personality, we want to fix it. That's who we are. We want to fix it, and you're the most frustrated when you don't fix it. So the doctor already said, I'm gonna flip it back to you. That really has to do with us.
Yeah.
I have the most peace in my life because I let go. It took 40 years.
Mm.
Letting go was the scariest thing because I felt like they wasn't going to do it right, Dr. Shonda. They just wasn't going to, and they didn't. And they didn't. But then when they didn't, they got it. If I would have held on, Doc, a little while longer, I am handicapping people by trying to fix it or thinking they should do it the way I, and who told me I was right by how I tell you how to fix something? Because I got it right? That's in just your little world. Because nobody got it right. We all still learning. It's the hardest thing to step back and watch somebody, so we think destroy themselves, when the truth is that thing that you release, that's when they grow. And so we have to get out of our control mode, mommy, girlfriend, wife, whatever we are,
Yeah.
leaders, to think that you can control anybody, because you ain't going to ever be at peace. It is scary. Probably the most scariest time of my life was releasing my children. And because I had done so much for them, so much, I almost handicapped them because they almost couldn't get at the house because mama had the fear. Remember my story. I had this fear back here. My kids wasn't going to go through that, and they was going to do this, and the kids knew it. And when I released them, they said thank you, just to let you know. Ma, I can go outside. Just because when I went outside, I got molested, raped, whatever. Just because my uncle did it don't mean their uncle is. We raise our kids and think about people in our own fears. And it's like the doctor said, when you coming back to stuff, I was like, oh, that was me. Oh, that's me. I didn't say they were going to do it right or perfect. But who am I to say what perfection is? Mm-hmm. I'm not. So we have to really release what we think people should do, or you're going to make your own self stuck. And they're going to go on with their life while you cry about what decision you thought they weren't going to make. But the truth is, it is their life. I wouldn't do it that way. But if you don't do this, you're going to find your own self.
I have a testimony for that. I have a testimony for that. Oh, TK, I think you're on mute. But
I was saying, go right ahead, Sin.
Oh, I have a testimony on that. Today, I was in a family group chat, and I sent a message to the family group, and I must have misinterpreted. I misinterpreted a text message.
Oh, Lord.
And
that's impossible to do, Cindy. How did that even happen?
You know, on top of being impatient, ADD, and probably dyslexic, I misread and misinterpreted. And so I was triggered.
Text is good for that.
I was triggered. And so my response was curt and short. And had a little bit of vinegar in there. And it took me like all day to sort of like get through it. And in a moment of clarity and healing, as this is the journey that I'm on, asking myself those hard questions, I said to myself, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, because there's nothing I can do to change that person's mind if it was the way that I interpreted it was correct, or if I misinterpreted it. So I'm going to go ahead and say I misinterpreted what you said, especially if you said you didn't mean that way. And we're going to move. Let's move on. I am apologizing. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. And this is sort of why I reacted this way.
Yeah.
And I did put the ownership on me and the accountability on myself, so we could mend from that moment and move on.
Yeah.
You know, I had my parent overreacted over something that I said last week and apologized to me, had a written apology to me. That's big, right, Dr. Venus?
That's humongous.
That's big. And there was a moment to have honesty there. And then also that breakthrough gave me I am the person that's like, I can help. It gave me sort of the freedom, the option to go, you know, I'm not gonna help you with this one.
Come on.
I'm not gonna be responsible for your happiness
Come
anymore.
on.
That's something for you to do.
You
And
know,
if you wanna be on this happy boat, which I'm trying to be on, you can be
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna change it. But I can't keep helping
good.
you on. But I got love for you.
That's good.
TK posted something today, and I had to share it with another parent who's having the absolute most difficult time with their adult child, and them needing to let their child go, as Dr. Venus said today. And I have been telling this person, you can't fix the situation because, as TK said, sometimes our kids feel like they're grown and they can do what they want to do until they need you. They don't want to be grown anymore. And TK posted today, normalize letting people go when it's no longer healthy because not everything is worth fighting for.
Come on.
And when it comes to taking care of your mental health, I am so selfish this year. And the
Woo,
next year, after that. When it comes to this right here, because I just learned I got ADD. So now I gotta figure out all this out. I can't, and I won't.
You don't
I
have
am
to.
protecting I'm stopping with, I'll do it. I help. No. I'm stopping that because all it's doing, I told you I'm an empath. So all it's doing is making me worry about what you're going through.
Exactly.
It ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So I'm learning to take my hands off of people, places, and things.
And things.
It ain't got nothing to do.
Let's go.
Because unless it's of course, it's something different. But I'm talking about things that I have no control over, things that I can't fix, things that are gonna hurt me because I'm trying to help. I ain't doing that anymore. And children and family members are not excluded.
Hello, they're invited, not excluded. Okay, that wasn't good. I thought I was on mute. All right, all right.
You gotta protect your peace. I'm at an age that I just don't want to argue no more. I think you get mentally tired.
You want
to try to go back and forth with someone. I told somebody, hey, if you tell me 2 + 2 is 5, I'm gonna say you're right because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Sure. Just to tie into this, and guys, I should have known better because when we talk about an important topic like mental health, I should have gave it this whole hour. And I don't know if you guys know, we've literally been on for like an hour and a half now. And to go right into it and not break it, Shonda, I'm gonna actually go to Ryan, so we can have some real talk with Ryan. Ryan, can you conclude everything that we just talked about, or go ahead and share what you want to share with our listeners?
And I just want to, as a producer, Ryan, I think you're maybe adjust your volume a little bit. You're coming in a little hot.
I'm loud. I'm loud.
A little loud.
Really, right here?
Yeah.
I was worried about putting the microphone. So
behind the scenes, people. Behind the scenes.
There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
All right, good. Because I was hoping I could leave it over there. It's out of the way. Thank you for that, Cindy. Technical growth is good as well.
That's right.
Okay. For the sake of time, because we went long today with so much good information. I think what I like to do, basically, instead of just giving, having my own segment per se and talking about something, I think what I'd like to speak to are a lot of the things that came up today, and really just throw out some things that might be educational and informative as to what we talked about. A lot of the stuff is there's some labels for some of these things. So I made some notes and I thought about some things that really came up today, and I just I guess I could point them out. And what's really interesting and really funny to me is when I hear people talk and professionals talk. Dr. Venus Miller comes on here and starts talking about things that I actually teach as lessons in my psych classes. And she's just really spitting that knowledge. And I'm listening to her talk. And these are things that I'm teaching my students, technical things. And I'll just start with one of the major lessons and the things that she was really kind of speaking to. And what she's talking about a lot of the time, a lot of what she was talking about, and it's so refreshing to hear her talk about it, is something that we call an internal locus of control versus an external locus of control. And what that locus of control is, it's what a person feels like controls their lives. An external locus of control is a person who looks externally to see what's making or causing them to be who they are, do what they do, feel what they feel. That is wrong. And that deals with control. Someone who has an external locus of control will always try to control the environment so they feel better. It's never going to happen. I tell people all the time, you don't control anything or anyone
Come on.
except for yourself.
Come on,
That's what
Doc.
she was saying just now. So I teach my students what those things are and how to evolve more so over to an internal locus of control. An internal locus of control goes to the mirror first when there's a problem. What did I do? What role did I play? What could I have changed? What did I, how did I partake in this situation? But that takes a little bit of courage and a little bit of security and so on. So you want to graduate, I should say, you want to gradually evolve from an external locus of control, which is based on blame, to an internal locus of control, which is based on responsibility. Because the beauty is, the more responsibility you take for your life when it comes to your failures, the more you'll be empowered to be able to be responsible for making things happen that are positive in your life. So that internal locus of control versus external, that's huge. You go from a life of trying to blame others and control others to being responsible for yourself and controlling yourself. And I tell my students, okay, they tell me, all right, Mr. AB, that's great. I know I need to have an internal locus of control, but where do I start? What do I assume responsibility for so that I have more of an internal locus of control? I tell them it's easy. 3 things. The only 3 things that you have control over: your thoughts, your language, and your actions. What you think, what you say, and what you do. That's it. You can't name one thing on this earth that you have 100% control of that doesn't fall in those categories. What you think, what you say, what you do. If you want to know where to start and how to take control of your life at any moment, if you ever feel out of control, at least reflect and be self-aware. What am I thinking right now? Because I control that. No one else does. What am I feeling right now? What am I saying to myself, and what am I doing? I'm the one that's controls that and responsible for that. So that's a big lesson I teach: internal locus of control versus external. The other thing that I wrote down, I talked about, was forgiveness. And that word wasn't used, but I think that's really what Dr. Venus Miller was alluding to partially, which is I'm going to let go. There's real quick, and I have some other things here, but I'll save this for a different segment. There's 2 types of forgiveness, and forgiveness is often misunderstood. And Dr. Miller even said it. It's misunderstood as you're condoning what they did.
Right.
You're saying it's okay what they did. If you forgive them, that means what they did was okay. Absolutely not. 2 types of forgiveness. I'll just point this out and I'll finish with this. The first type of forgiveness has to do with a relationship where I go to you and I say, listen, I'm sorry. I feel badly about that. I want to change it. Would you forgive me? Yes, I will. We can work on this and you'll prove to me. And then together we can work on that. That is a mutual type of forgiveness. That's a relationship type of forgiveness. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the one that I call healthy selfishness. This is the one where you can forgive somebody. They don't never know you forgave them, because you know what? You didn't do it for them. You did it for you. And that one looks like this. Something happened. You've been carrying it around your whole life and you're tired of carrying it around. They're dead. They're gone. They've abused you. They've left. Whatever happened, they're gone. They're not in your life anymore. And that is a prerequisite, by the way. They have to not be in your life anymore. It can't be something that can happen again tomorrow. But you're carrying the weight around emotionally. You're carrying the memory with you and you're just tired of it. Forgiveness might be a possibility. You have to be ready. You have to be ready. And when you get to the point where you carried it around for so long, eventually you get ready. You're like, I'm tired of feeling like this. Well, guess what? It might be time to consider forgiveness. What do you do when you forgive somebody? You cut the ties that you're giving that person emotionally based on those memories. You don't forget the past. Forgive and forget is terrible advice. Forgive and forget is terrible advice. You don't want to forget because you'll forget the lesson. Remember the lesson. Let go of the emotions. Forgive emotions. That's what forgiveness really is. When you cut ties with the emotions that you tied to that experience, you have forgiven. You'll never forget, but you're not emotionally bound now to that person controlling essentially your emotions. They're gone. They're living their life. They're doing them. And you're still suffering and struggling from what you're thinking about with that experience. This is an option for you out there. If you've went through something in your past, it's long gone and over with. They're dead. They're gone. They're nowhere around. And you're still struggling because of that experience. This might be an option for you. Maybe it's time to forgive. Maybe it's they don't ever need to know about it. You're not telling them. I always give the example in class. You go through you're raised in an abusive household. 5 years old to 15 years old, you're abused by your parents. You run away at 15. You never talk to them again. You get your own household, your own family. You're successful. You never talk to your parents. You're 30 years old. You haven't talked to them since you're 15. You find out they both died in a car accident. Are you ever going to get an apology from your parents?
No.
Not going to happen. But you're still resentful and upset about what they did to you for 10 years. Well, you know what you can do? You can let it go. You can forgive them. That's a type of forgiveness that is personal. They don't need to know about it. You don't need to send them a letter. You don't need to tell them anything. It's for you. It's healthy selfishness. So there's a lot of tools that someone can use really, really technically in these situations. And I think that's one of them. And I think it's something to really, because there's a lot of misconceptions about forgiveness. And I think that's one that you can use personally. And there was a question in the chat, if something happened, do you have to let them know, or do you have to work with them? And you don't. You don't, if it's you moving on from something from your past, you don't have to do that. So I think internal, external locus of control, moving from this, and I'll speak on a victimhood mentality on another session, because that really has to do with blaming others for what's going on with you and not taking control. That doesn't deny the fact that you were a victim of something.
Right.
It's not denying the pain or the suffering. It's just, what am I going to do about it, as opposed to blaming those. Move from blame to responsibility. Move from external to internal. Take control of things you control, what you think, what you say, what you do, and consider forgiveness if you're carrying around a weight or some emotional baggage that's happened that's from something that happened long ago. Consider letting it go, getting rid of the emotions, and taking that lesson with you so that it doesn't happen again.
Woo, Lord! Tonight, I promise you, people keep saying, I don't know why the show's not 2 hours long, but we're about to go into it, guys. Oh my God, like, we could just sit here and talk about this so much, because so many people are hurting. So many people have dealt with trauma, and we're just here to assist you, to provide you with tips of healing. And thank you, everybody, for tonight, and to talk about this topic and being so transparent with our own personal testimonies. I just want to thank all of you. We're gonna wrap things up because we got to go to the corner. Dr. Shonda, it's time for your community corner. Bring us home. Bring us home.
Ooh, no, you seen her walking down the street. It's Shonda's community corner.
She's so gifted.
All right, I like that, girl.
You did that.
You did
Thank
that.
you. Now remember it for next week, because you're gonna forget what you did.
It's recorded. I got it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, again. And we are back with Dr. Shonda's Community Corner. This is my favorite thing to do. I love highlighting organizations and people who are doing things for the community. Tonight, we are highlighting Citrus Health Network. One of our loyal listeners and a very, very good friend of mine, Lynette Brooks, works for this organization, and they work for foster kids. And they're having a black tie. Love my glasses, Jesus. What they say?
You know
Black
what?
tie sneakers ball.
Jesus. Help this child.
A black tie sneakers ball, Saturday, June 25th, 8 to 11 p.m. And they need some help getting some things for their kids that are in foster care. So I'm going to read you something really quick. As the lead, I'm reading it from an email. So, as the lead agency for child welfare for Miami-Dade and Monroe, our mission at Citrus Family Care Network is protecting children, strengthening families, and engaging communities. We appreciate the organizations like DTLR to provide an environment that encourages positive growth and makes a difference within our youth and community. Your donation will benefit our teens 13 through 17 who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected and are in child welfare and foster care system of care through no fault of their own. We are requesting sponsorship for children in care for an upcoming event, Black Ties and Sneaker Ball. The event is to uplift, empower, and give hope to our teens in care. We are huge advocates to supporting the teens and wanted to have a special moment for teens to dress up and feel supported, not only by the agency, but also by the community. Support like yours helps us work each day towards our vision for every at-risk child in Miami-Dade and Monroe counties to grow up with a safe, loving, nurturing, and permanent family. As lead agency, Citrus Family Care Network manages foster care and related services, including child abuse prevention and intervention, intake, foster care placement, foster parent recruitment and licensing, adoptions, and services for youth who have aged out of foster care. Citrus is a division of Citrus Health Network, a nonprofit federally qualified health center that was founded in 1979 and has been providing services to children and child welfare for more than 27 years. If you have any questions or need additional information, please contact Lynette Brooks at 305-989-2557. Her email is lbrooks@citrusf as in Frank CN as in Nancy.com, or Joanne Peer 786-717-2236, or via email at jpierre@citrusfcn.com. thank you all so much for what you are doing for our kids in the community. And we're going to put that information in our chat so that people can donate, and we pray it to be a successful event. Thank you all so much. And that is the corner.
Yay! Wait, where's the jingle, Cindy? Woo!
You know you seen her walking down the street, yeah. It's Shonda's Community Corner.
Yeah.
Weeknights at 8 p.m.
Wait a minute. I love it. Wait,
Thank
listen,
you, Finn.
this struggle is real until we get our real jingle. All right. Thank you, Dr. Shonda. Thank you, everybody. Sin, tell people how they can reach us.
You know how we do this every Monday night, Eastern Standard Time. It's Talk Miami Talk Show. You can follow us on all social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Talk Miami Talk Show. If you're watching us live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this episode at Talk Miami Talk Show on YouTube. And if you've missed us live every Monday night, you can check us out at wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Just type in the search, Talk Miami Talk Show.
Ooh, doesn't she have that good voice? Yes, you can start doing voiceovers. Everybody, like I just still can't even think about, like, I don't even want to end the topic, but we have to. But it was just so great. Dr. Miller, thank you so much. You know, it's like I reach out to her over the weekend. I'm like, how dare I talk about mental health without having her on this show? Because I just knew she was going to break it down. If people needed to reach you, Dr. Miller, how can they reach you? Oh, I think you're on mute.
All right, then. I think I'm off now. Just Venus Miller is the best way on Facebook. Inbox me, and then we can chat from there.
Absolutely. Ryan, Shonda, Cindy, Dr. Miller, thank you so much, guys, for another amazing show. We're actually off next Monday. It is Memorial Day, so we will see you guys back in June. I cannot believe, like, it's halfway throughout the year. It's already gone. We were just celebrating a new year, and here we are in June. So, guys, we won't see you next Monday, but we'll be back in June. Until then, peace, everybody.
It's the double clap for me, honestly. It's the double clap.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Enjoy your families. Memorial